if I can speak my mind, I think there are a lot of cowards in Bitcoin, and when I say I don't say this lightly, in that anyone who has acquired Bitcoin and massively changed their net wealth, there is an element of luck in there. There's luck on the day you discovered it. You know, did somebody tell you about it in 2010 and then 3 years later you did it, or was it 2017? And you've discovered a technology and a financial technology that every 4 years massively increases your wealth. And yes, you have to take a bit of risk, but there's a massive amount of luck there. And if you are one of those people who's been on Twitter complaining about the government and inflation and central banks, and you bought Bitcoin and got a bit lucky and got super rich, and then you retreat into oblivion and go and live a quiet life in some shithole like Dubai, where basically it's everything. it stands for everything against what Bitcoiners have talked about in my history of Bitcoin. Then I think you're full of shit. I think you've conned yourself into a low tax dictatorship because you want to live off your money. And I just think you're a coward. There are problems all across the world, especially in the West, the EU, in the UK, in the US, and Bitcoiners are uniquely positioned to fix this. They've got a strong backbone. They've got good ideas. They understand free markets. They understand liberty. They understand free speech. Yet some of them are retreating into places that don't respect property. They don't respect free speech. They arrest journalists. They persecute gays. They have no form of democracy because it's got no tax, right? Yet they could be using their voice, their platform, their finances to go and fix the problems inside. And I say this as somebody who's trying to do it, and it's fucking hard, but it's the courageous thing to do, because Bitcoin doesn't fix things, people fix things. But people with Bitcoin can do a lot of damage, and I mean damage in a positive way.
For sure.
So I think there are a lot of cowards in Bitcoin. So,
totally agree.
Sorry to speak my mind like that.
It's good. I love it.
I don't disagree with that in the slightest.
Pete for math.
I would really like to sort of like bring some of the old guard out of the woodwork. We're seeing that a little bit. Trace is back.
Love that.
But that's because you did it. I don't want to talk about, if you're talking about being cowards, I remember when you wanted to open up for coward, not being cowards. I guess I was the coward, because when he decided to open up this bar, I was catching up with him. He's like, we got this bar. This is in the middle of 21. Literally, I just lost a bar here in New York, lost a ton of money in a restaurant. And he's like, we're going to open this bar, middle of COVID, FTX. I'm like, please don't do this. The dumbest decision you could ever make. Do not sign this lease. And you know what? Against all odds, he opens it up because there need to be a home here. And it did reignite Bitcoin culture here in New York, which was so excited. And then it kind of got regulated and it went everywhere else or COVID. But like, once again, you are willing to invest in, and I still think it's because it's the dive bar you met your wife at. So I think you have too many good memories here. But
we didn't meet here, but we spent a lot of time here.
I mean,
met her in a different way.
It was a terrible idea. Same as buying a football club was a terrible idea. They're terrible ideas.
They're great ideas.
They're terrible ideas when you decide to do it, and then you make them great ideas.
It's hard to explain to people what you see. Like it's hard. It's really hard to get the time with an individual to get them to understand your perspective. And I think that applies to a lot of things in life. But we did have this vision. I know you had the vision with Real Bedford as well. And, you know, when you build it, like, people start to see what you're talking about.
But isn't the argument now the cheat code really is Bitcoin? Because the truth is there's now people who want to support it, early adopters, who value their financials, who understand the sacrifice you're making. I mean, would Bedford have been as successful if you didn't have the Bitcoiners backing?
Absolutely not.
No. Would this
it's an accelerant?
No, absolutely not. We opened in COVID, and the thesis was, you know, we have a really passionate, high attach rate, super loyal community straight out of the gate. That's unheard of in hospitality. Maybe you have, you know, Danny Myers. Like, they're fans of all of his restaurants, and they'll go tiny compared to like the power of the Bitcoin community, which on the whole, incredibly supportive. You do a thing with authenticity in Bitcoin, you got a lot of support. It's the entire premise of your conference in Bedford, the cheat code.
Yeah.
Same for the club, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I bought a football club that had an average of attendance of 40 people a game, playing in a field next to an abattoir, with one stand that holds 50 people. And a club
next to a what?
An abattoir.
What's an abattoir?
It's where they kill the cows and cut them up for you. And so that's why you get
Slaughterhouse,
where you get that stale smell of meat sometimes at the game. And the clubhouse was falling apart, and they were in the lowest tier of English football. And I said, I'm going to buy this club and get them in the Premier League. And rightly so, everyone said, you're a fucking idiot. No, you're not. You can't do this. It's impossible. And the only reason I knew I could do it is because of Bitcoin. I knew if I bolted Bitcoin onto this, we had an instant tap into a global fan base who would buy our merch. I knew the Bitcoiners in the UK would come, but I knew locals would come and watch a game of football. But I knew the sponsors would want to back it. And my thesis was, it's the accelerant to make this happen. 3 years later, 3 promotions later for the men, 2 promotions for the women. We're a third of the way to the Premier League from where we started, and people are starting to go, okay, maybe Pete was right. Yeah. And so, look, it goes back to that LOP thing. You can just do things. Yeah. And I don't think people realize how much you can literally do. You can just wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this, and go and do it.
Well, it's fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, the hardest thing is, I think for most people, is asking for something. Yeah. We've had 2 sponsor meetings this week, and we wanted money for specific things and had to go and ask. A lot of people just don't even want to ask. Yeah. Like it's like asking a girl out at a bar. It's a tough thing to go and do. Yeah. But once you start asking, you actually realize, actually it's a superpower, and people will either say yes or no. But if you ask 100 people for something, you're not going to get 100 no's unless you're some kind of weird idiot. You're going to get some yeses, and then you build on those yeses. And we just went out and we've constantly asked people, can you sponsor this? Can you support that? Can you come to a game? And you can build something. And from that, then you can think bigger. It's like, if you'd have asked me 15 years ago, Pete, I think you can change the future of your country. I'll be like, no, I can't. You're an idiot. But now I look and go, well, can I? We have problems. Can I create a grassroots movement in Bedford that changes the trajectory of the town, changes the future of the people in the town, changes the governance structure, and does that work in a way where other towns look and go, well, I want some of that. A bit like what Trump did here. People in the UK are looking over the Atlantic and over the pond, and they're like, I want some of that. And so can you do that at a town level? And then can you fundamentally change the country? Well, if you think you can do it and don't do it, you're just lacking courage. And so you just have to be courageous and go and do things.